Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's panel. We're going to be talking about COP26. I'm here with 5 AEE delegates who were able to attend COP26 this year in Glasgow. I'm going to go ahead and ask everyone to introduce yourself, starting with Bill Kent, our executive director. And what I'd like to hear from you is, what was your first impression when you entered the event for the first time last week? Bill, go ahead.
Thanks, Lori Beth. I'm pleased to be here. We were in Glasgow last week for COP26. It was my first COP event, and I think my first impression was, wow. It was the energy, no pun intended. A very large crowd of people. Very passionate about making a difference in clean energy, net zero. Addressing energy poverty and governments, lots of organizations, really one common goal to make a difference quickly and have impact. And, I think something that also was an initial to me was there was, obviously it was a closed event, but outside of the event, there was a fair amount of protesters. And, I think they really wanted the same thing as everybody inside. So I think inside and outside, we all really wanted a clean energy future, net zero, 100% renewable. And so I think it was exciting event. And I think my first impression was, wow.
That's fantastic. Next, let's hear from Ian Boylan, our training partner in Ireland and board member currently.
Yeah, similar to Bill, it was a bit of a wow going in to see it. It was my first COP, but I had sort of studied a lot of what had went on at previous COPs, and in particular the previous Paris 5 years back. But so it really struck me the difference between it and, say, a normal engineering event were heavily sort of political. We're trying to drive energy and drive the sort of reduction in climate change top down, as opposed to as engineers, we're addressing it from the bottom up, spotting the opportunities. It was really sort of setting the goals and saying, this is what, the one thing that struck me is that they come out of COP, if they come out of COP with an agreement as to what it's going to be, it's then back to the countries to say, right, there's your target, now go away and reach that target. And I think that's where people like us and the engineering front were going to come into it, really. Like, energy efficiency really didn't get much of a mention at the top table, but it's really one of the things that they're relying upon to actually get there. So it was strange just to see it looking at the same thing from a different angle than we typically look at it. That's what struck me.
That's very insightful. Let's hear next from Mary Elise, the lifeblood of AEE.
I'm Mary Elise Cox, International Program Director. I work with a lot of our chapters and training partners around the world. This was my first time as well at a COP event. And, it was really, in one word for me, it was overwhelming, just because it was there, I had no expectations. So walking in, like Bill said, there was just a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation, I think, from everyone. And there were a lot of different moving parts. I mean, you had the parties, you had the observers, you had the protesters, as he mentioned. You had the heads of state and the presidents and vice presidents, and just all in one space together, kind of for the same purpose, and coming from different perspectives and different backgrounds and cultures, but all kind of seeing how we can come together for the one common purpose. So I found that to be just extremely interesting. It was a wonderful event, and just can't wait to do it again.
That's very great. Let's next hear from Javier, who handles all of our training in Spain.
Hello, everyone. For me, my name is Javier Cervera. I'm the Vice President of the Spanish Chapter 2. And I have visited first time the Congress, the COP. Really, in 2019 was in Madrid, and I was like in the outside, but not like observer, Nations Union's observer member. I've been representing the Spanish companies fighting against climate change. And for me, the most impressive thing just arrived there in Glasgow was like something happening, something important really happening here. People, delegates, governments are deciding things here because during the year you can see plans, you can see laws, etc., like things happening for improving the emissions, etc. But really, there exists a pressure to happen things really important for the team, for all the governments together agree with together. All have to be agreed with the final document there. So the things that being written there in the Congress, in the conference, it's something that all the governments put together and all agree and decide together. So for me, this is the most important impressions and most impact me when I arrived there the last week.
Thank you so much. And last, let's hear from Andres, our incoming secretary for our board.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And it was a pleasure to represent AE last week during COP26. As you said, I'm the Secretary-elect 2022 of AE, and I've been very active in the chapter in Spain for so long. First impression about COP. My first impression is that it was really like a show. I mean, a lot of people from all around the world, different interests and different stakeholders. But behind the curtains, probably Javier is right. You know, a lot of things going on and a lot of decisions are taking place and decisions that will affect us, all our countries and all around the world, and us as professionals, that will affect us definitely as citizens and also as professionals. That was my first impression. Not only the show, but also the hard work behind the curtains. And my first time in COP, well, really, like Javier said, we had a COP here in Spain. It was Chile's COP, but finally it was here in 2019. And I was not there inside the blue zone, but I participated in several activities and events around COP. Then more or less we knew what was going on there. I mean, we knew what's COP about.
Very good. Thank you all for sharing your insight on, for those of us who didn't get to attend, but were represented through AEE. Next, I'd like to hear, what are some challenges from your country that you think AEE members can tackle, since we're all on different timelines and pathways in order to tackle our climate crisis?
Energy is running everything. I mean, we are talking about forest, we are talking about earthquake, about climate, about temperature, about anything that is happening on the planet due to the climate change. But really energy is like running everything, because energy sector is important on the emissions, energy and transport that are really related, because we need the energy to move. So I think that for energy, Association of Energy Engineers members, we have great opportunities with the things that are being approved there and the consequences and the plans that are coming. For example, carbon markets and the footprint calculations for everything. In this conference, one thing is happening, that is we just start a Paris Agreement, and one of the articles telling us that we have to calculate the footprint of every process, every action that we take, not only in energy, in transport and every activity that has some emissions. And we have to invest, we have to research, we have to put solutions, to invent new devices to reduce the emissions to the net zero. Every region in the world has decided the year for the net zero emissions, but we have to invent still things to obtain this final goal, the zero emission. So I think that the engineers, we have really important work and jobs to do to work for this important goal about the climate change.
Maybe I'll comment on the U.S. Thanks for that, Javier. And, go back to what Ian said about traditionally we're working from, the bottom up with our engineers and, policy at the top down. But certainly at COP, there was a lot of, decisions, commitments, policies made. And I think first is we have to keep doing what we have been doing for 44 years, right? I mean, we've been doing energy efficiency, which is a key part. I think really what we have to do is try and engage more with those who are setting policy so that we're participating, so that we have, a couple things. I think we have to have, a good transition that's reliable and resilient as we move very quickly towards, renewables, net zero. I think certainly, carbon reporting, in addition to saving energy, how much carbon are we abating? I think there's, ESG, environmental, social governance, reporting we're going to be participating in as more companies are doing that reporting. I think, when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly goal number 7, is, energy for all is certainly energy efficiency, which we're doing. And then I think, renewable energy, which I think we're doing much more. But I think kind of the third leg of that would be, energy poverty and ensuring that everyone participates as we, move forward so that, everyone participates, we address energy poverty, maybe not so much here in the US, but that, more of the disadvantaged populations and communities, are able to participate because they're the ones who feel, the hurt the most when, energy prices are increasing. I think just in the US, for example, we still have, a heavy reliance on, fossil fuel-based energy. So we've got to work to quickly work toward decarbonization and as I said, reliable and resilience as we move more towards, clean energy and renewables.
I think that's really insightful. Let's hear from one more person, Ian or Andres.
Okay, I can talk about Spain. I pretty much agree with Javier and Bill. Spain and Europe, Ian maybe can talk about Ireland too, but we are pretty close to is at the development world. I mean, pretty much as United States. For our members, of course, in Spain and in Europe and in the United States, energy efficiency, that is what we are experts and we work on it for so long. Of course, is a key for success in the decarbonized and net zero economy. But very well said by Bill, we have to add to our environmental, I mean, energy management, energy efficiency. We have to add the S and the G of the ESG. I mean, the social impact we have with the energy efficiency and with the energy management and the governance, the item or aspect that is really important. One of the biggest thing or the hot topics in COP was about financing the decarbonization, net zero, and finance through mechanisms that take into account how the projects are impacting the ESG, are taking care of ESG. And this is crucial. In the EU, there is a draft already of taxonomy, ESG taxonomy, that is really important to decide where is the money going. I mean, the green bonds that we have in EU, where is the money is going to go? Which projects are going to finance? And probably we, members, we have to take care or learn a lot more about the S, and the G of governance. I don't know, Ian. Is it the call?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, to follow up on that, I think one thing that would be very useful for us as a I can follow up to what Bill and Andre were saying. I think it would be very useful if we looked across the sustainability development goals that the UN has, and then to look very carefully about how does AEE contribute towards those, and assess ourselves against all of those sustainable development goals. So for example, the one that Bill mentioned about energy for all, that yeah, we're not going to be providing energy to the third world countries, but by our chapters, we are able to assist in sort of technology transfer and to assist them in understanding how to make it better. And I think KEE as an organization, being around since 1977, has a lot of embedded knowledge in these areas that can be very helpful to other organizations. So some of the meetings that I was at and some of the meetings I was sitting in on, the discussions, and I was spent a bit of time the last couple of days sitting in on the political discussions. One of the areas that there's a lot of debate about is how can we be sure that these things are happening? Where's the verification going to come from? And I think there is a role for AEE in those areas and sort of transferring and showing them the competency approach that we have in developing skill sets for individuals in the relevant areas that we work, and assisting towards getting embedded more in that area where so that we can assist the wider climate change community as they try to achieve that.
I couldn't agree more, and especially being involved in your local chapter and being able to talk to your local governments and amplifying that to even bigger governments like your state and even country, I think can really make an impact, especially if you do it as a chapter, which we love community at AEE. So our next question is, Bill, we announced our new vision at AE World a few weeks ago, which is to lead the global energy community to meet the challenges of a clean and sustainable future. What do you think AE members can do with the recommendations suggested at COP26 with our vision in mind?
Thanks, Lori Beth. Yes, we do have a new vision and mission, and I think it aligns perfectly with COP. And I think this was our first COP, and we are pleased that now we're an official observer organization. I think it's certainly very appropriate and timely that we participated in this first COP, and I think we will be involved and engaged in future COPs going forward. I think just really everything we've all said is, how do you get involved? You help get involved with defining policy and how to implement that policy. And then also, how do we report and, ensure that we're, meeting some of the goals and commitments, all at the same time while doing all of the efficiency work that we've been doing. So what can our members do? I think they've got to just, get involved more with the policy and the reporting as a part of the ongoing work that we're doing, which I think really is, we're on the ES&G, we've got the environmental, but we need to get more, as Andres said, in the social and governance. And, as Ian said, reporting. How do we ensure that the work we're doing, it gets visibility as being impactful as part of, meeting the goals, commitments, and policies that are set at the COP.
Perfect. Ian, do you have anything to add to that?
I think what Bill has said is sort of covers it nicely there.
I can just say that, something that kind of struck me I spent a good amount of time in the section that had the pavilions, and it was, each individual country sent a group of representatives. And just, of course, it just every time the energy world just seems so small, but every time I'm surprised when you start making the connections and you start, realizing that the people you're speaking to here at this climate event are also connected with the chapter or have been to one of the conferences that the chapters have put on, or, you're talking to someone and he's already a CEM. So we met several, certified energy managers while we were there. So they're already involved in this process, already integrated. And just like what Bill was saying, just the more our chapters can, connect with the leaders in their own countries, see how they can help, work towards these regulations, which is where a lot of the regulations have already come from, if you really look back. So it's really, like Bill said, just reporting on that, being able to share the successes that each country has made and how the AE members, certified professionals, and chapters have been a part of that. So I do plan to connect those chapters who are already who had representatives from their countries there in the pavilion, just to make sure that they're talking to the right people and able to connect and see how they can, help move each other's goals forward.
That's great.
Okay, I will add there, if you let me, that we need to, we have the capacity through our chapter and the memberships to our members to keep on the top of the technology and the knowledge to lead the transition. I mean, this should be one of our goals, to maintain our members at the top of the knowledge and in leading this decarbonization and this energy transition. This is something that we should do. There is a lot of things going on. Technically, everything is changing. We have to understand what the new technologies, what net zero goals means, and how to translate the same languages, the same things we are used to do with energy, to translate to the new language of CO2 and the goals, the United Nations goals.
Javier, do you have anything to add, or?
After all the things that my colleagues have said, I think that, for example, one pavilion was important for me. The pavilion was about the methane slip. After the IPCC report last October, a really important contribution to the emissions from the methane is coming really in the laws, etc. A couple of big agreements there between 30 countries to reduce 30% of the emissions in 2030. The last agreement 2 nights ago to go between United States and China, where China is calculating and having an important plan next conference in Egypt about how to reduce in 2030 the methane emissions in every sector: transport, energy, landfills, waste management, etc., etc. This pavilion shows us how the AEE members and the engineer calculations and solutions to reduce, not only in energy sector, we can promote and we can help a lot for the goals about this new issue, because it's completely new from the past. All the planet was focusing on the CO2 emissions, but not calculating or putting laws about the methane. So this example, a new issue like the methane that is going to be really important in the global emissions is something that AE members we can help in the technical issues and calculations for the new efficiency program solutions to reduce in many sectors, not only in energy.
Very nice. I know this next question is probably going to be hard because I know all of you probably learned so much at COP26, and it's a big event, but what was your and anyone can feel free to answer, what is your biggest takeaway from attending COP26?
I'll start. I think my biggest takeaway was really, I think, two things. One was action. That was a recurring theme that I heard. It's great to have commitments, policies, and plans, but action, taking all of this and putting them in action. I think we heard Secretary of Energy in the U.S., Jennifer Granholm, talk about that, about let's have action, 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 action now. So I think that was probably, to me, one of the, aside from all of the policies and agreements, commitments, was one of the takeaways. And then, I think the other takeaway for me was, after I returned and I was talking to colleagues and even friends that, I was at the COP in Scotland, and, people like, oh, you went to Scotland and sightseeing and all. And then I said, no, we're at this meeting. And as I described the meeting and the event and what we do and the impact that we have is, and all of our members and the work that they do, I mean, we are changing the world. This is a critical time, and we're seeing a transformation like really we haven't seen in tremendous amount of time, and we're at the center of it. And, to think we're having such an impact and really making a change in the world is something that, just excites me. And, looking now and in the years ahead with AEE, what we're doing and the impact we're making and the legacy we will leave.
For me, I think that the urgently about to act, as Bill has said, really all the people knows that we have increased already 1.2 degrees the temperature on the planet, and the limit that we are talking about there in the conference is 1.5. All the people know that has to be done more things that we are agreeing in this kind of conferences. And the other issue is about if we have all the necessary resources, not only money, we need professionals too. For example, one new topic, if we need net zero emissions around the world, it's technologies like storage, like hydrogen. And really exists a gap still of professionals, and the professionals are the energy engineers, obviously, for this project. But it's like we have to do so much and so many projects around the world in short time that really we need more professionals. This is the second topic that for me was really, really impressive and important there. We need the urgent to have more professionals really with experience of this kind of projects that we need for the important goals for the net zero emissions.
Okay, I totally agree with the both of them. I mean, how Bill and Javier, but I would like to add maybe two more technical topics that it was for surprise for me. Really glad to hear there. That is hydrogen, as Javier said. Hydrogen for sure is something that is going to be the future in the next. Hydrogen is the new king. I mean, everyone is talking about it. There's a clear support from the EU in hydrogen technology and hydrogen systems, just to get out of, carbon or fuel and all that stuff, and make the economy more clean. Hydrogen clearly is the present and the future. And the other one is ESG, as we talked already. I mean, everything is related to ESG, not only taking into account the environmental, but also the social and the governance in the projects and in any policy. Probably that two topics are the key.
Mary Elise, anything from you? Okay. Well, last question. How about you tell me, do you expect to participate in events like COP26 next year or COP27 in Egypt next year?
Okay, for sure. We are going to go there. And I know that this is going to be better than our World Congress, that everyone has to go. That next year is going to be in Atlanta, right? But for sure, we plan to go, and I believe it's the place to be. And there are so many topics there that are interest and need to be addressed. I encourage all the AE members that can go from different countries to go there and meet there with.
I'll just mention that we have next year, our president will be Ms. Fatou Al-Ragam, and she's located there in Kuwait. So we've already spoken to her, and she definitely wants to participate in the event next year in Egypt. And now that we kind of have our bearings about us, about what all the event is about, I think we just look forward to looking strategically at how we can be more engaged at the next event, maybe a pavilion or a side event or something, and then also to be able to bring more members together at the event and see how we can make the biggest impact.
I can confirm that I'm coming next year to Egypt, and I have to add that I was in advance 2 days in the conference, and I went to the Young conference that they did 4 days before in Glasgow, and I could be in the closure of the Congress. And I can say that young people really are coming really strong about the objectives, the goals, and they are the future. So I'm really happy of that. And I think that from the young people in the AEE, we can to add some participation to the conference. We have all the year to prepare things for Egypt. And from now, it's the first experience for me and for us in general. I think that we have the ways to do some job during the year, to focus still a bit more in Egypt and to give more experience from the energy efficiency team that we are in the family of AEE. And I think that we'll get really important things in the next conference in Egypt.
I think I'll already best say that I certainly agree with Andres, Javier, and Mary Elise. Yes, we plan to attend COP27 next November in Egypt. Obviously, Andres said we'll bring the AEE family together for AEE World in September in Atlanta for our 45th anniversary. But as the Broadway musical Hamilton, we want to be in the room where it happens with this global policy and commitments. So we're going to participate in COP going forward as an observer, and we look forward to continuing to get awareness on the work we're doing, participate, as the AEE members, certified professionals globally, really change the world.
Well, thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to talk about your experiences in Glasgow for COP26. Like you all said, action is so important. So while we started the discussion and kind of debriefed today, we really hope to take action moving forward and keep the discussion going all year, not only at our conferences, but online. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye,
you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.